Inside the Arena is presented by Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, Seattle's closest sportsbook.
Welcome to Inside the Arena, your source for everything off the ice, off the court, and outside the field of play. With your hosts, KOMO Sports Director Niko and KOMO Senior Reporter Chris Daniels.
We're back for 57.
Yeah, 57.
57 straight weeks.
It's impressive when you think about it.
Yes, because we've been talking about everything off the ice, off the court, off the field of play. I just love saying that.
No, but let's be honest about it. That really, I always, champion all the Seattle sports scene. When you can talk about stuff that is going off the ice, off the court. I'll let you say it if you'd like.
Yeah.
No, but it's It tells you how much is going on around here. Like, of course, you could do a podcast every week talking about, the Seahawks could have thrown the ball more or run the ball. Well, let's say run the ball more last season, or the Mariners could have hit the ball more. That's easy. But finding the fabric of our sports community, what makes things tick, what makes things special, I think that's really a fun thing that we've been able to do.
And we had a big past week with the unveiling of the statue for Lenny Wilkins. We'll talk more about that in the Supersonic Minute, but there were all these people that came into town, including a former Sonic who hadn't really been back a whole lot in the past 20 years, Desmond Mason.
Really cool.
People remember him as the slam dunk champ. He got traded away in that trade to Milwaukee. That is, people remember with Vin Baker or with Ray Allen and Gary Payton, and he was part of all of that, and he didn't really want to leave, and he finally came back, and he's talking about his second career as an artist.
So cool.
And he's has a showing coming up next year in Seattle. So we talk a lot about stuff away from the court, what he's been doing for the past 20 years. And, oh, by the way, how he feels about the Oklahoma City franchise, given that he lives down there. So that's coming up a bit later in the show.
Yeah, really good get, really fun stuff with our friends there. And I can't wait to listen to it.
Well, why don't we do what we like to do every week? Talk about what's good, what's bad, off the ice, off the court, off the field of play. There you go. It's Four Corners. Niko, what's good this week?
Yeah, no, I'm going to go with this week. My positive is the further expansion of the WNBA. If you think about it, they're going from if they're going from 12 teams in 2024 to 18 by 2030. We already knew that Portland and Toronto were going to come next year. And now you're getting Cleveland, Detroit, and Philadelphia. Of course, Cleveland and Detroit are return teams from back in the 90s, the Rockers, and the Shock was after the 90s, but you get the idea there. Yeah. And I think, listen, it's a testament to how far the league has come, the interest in it, and right up our alley and Inside the Arena, Chris. Think about this. The Golden State Valkyries, who obviously debuted this year, their expansion fee was $50 million. These three new teams, $250 million. If that doesn't scream the growth of the league, and listen, when you talk about that stuff, there are always going to be negative people, especially in the Twitter space. Just throw this number at them. There's no debating it. Like, there's no debating the growth of a sport, the growth of a fan base, the growth of an interest when your expansion fee increases by 500%.
Well, and the franchise valuations have gone up, skyrocketed in the last couple of years. That was actually happening before Caitlin Clark got into the league. And what's interesting with these three new franchises is there's also the talk about a practice facility, a training facility. I know Philadelphia is going to be playing in a new arena in downtown. So this is also with this expansion, we're talking about NBA owners are involved. So they see the growth. Perhaps they also see the growth in the NBA as well. And
that would just make it come full circle.
Yeah.
Portland has NBA, and as of next year, WNBA. Maybe we can have both again pretty soon.
Well, speaking of expansion, also good this week, the Pac-12 finally officially did it. They've announced it. We talked a little bit about it last week, but Texas State University has been added to the Pac-12 conference as the 8th football member. The reason why that matters is there was a 2-year grace period for the Pac-12 to get up to 8 schools that play football in order to be recognized by the NCAA. They now have that with Texas State. The 9th school is Gonzaga. It's going to be a great basketball conference. Also, as they are announcing their new TV deal with CBS a couple of weeks ago, this was a piece of the puzzle as the Pac-12 tried to rebuild, namely Washington State and Oregon State. And there's now a question of whether there will be any other schools involved, whether there'll be a 9th football member, whether other basketball schools, say a St. Mary's gets added on the basketball side. But this was a big piece for the Pac-12 to stay relevant, to actually continue forward on a football basis.
No, I agree. And I think we talked about it last week. This is a good move to get to that benchmark you need to. Now that there's no pressure, there's no deadline, you're set. You can focus on moves that make the league better, whether it's St. Mary's on the basketball side, whether it's, we heard a lot of chatter about some of these schools like Memphis and schools out that way. Well, they kind of have a travel buddy if they want to join in the future now with Texas State joining the league. So I'm all for it. It gets the job done. It opens up a new footprint, recruiting area, that sort of thing. So, hey, that's done. It's good to go. And let's see what they do from here. That's what I'm most intrigued about.
Yeah, and there's a question of whether they need to add more pieces of the puzzle, because there'd be more schools that would then get a piece of the pie, so to speak. So that's going to be one of the questions going forward. What don't you like?
Oh boy, I'm such a positive guy. Right?
I know you are.
You
struggle sometimes to go from second to third.
Yeah. Only on Inside the Arena. I think when you look at what's going on, I want to talk about the NBA expansion a little bit, because one thing I keep seeing is, and obviously we're all eyes on July right now, and we're going to talk about this at length throughout this upcoming month. And I think I've said this as a negative too. I just think that, if all goes well with July, we're going to hear the commissioners say that they're going to formally explore expansion. That's amazing news. But it feels like every time he's given good news, like there's a big chunk of the basketball fan base. Granted, we only get to see it on social, which I argue is not in any way indicative of the rest of the city or the fan base. But I can see it now, fans being like, oh, wow, this doesn't mean, we're going to be another. We're not getting. Hang on. Like, it's coming. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's not really negative. It's more of like a hang on a minute. But we've seen it every time. There's like you and I, like we can see what the commissioner's saying, and we're like, oh, all right, cool. Like that's good news.
Yeah.
Like that's a good step. But then it's like you'll see the comment section on the KOMO News Facebook or Instagram page, and it's like yawn, wake me up. No, this is cool. This is not yawn. This is great. And granted, those fans are passionate. They've waited 17 years. Like I get the fatigue, though. Don't question that. But this is all good news. Like this is a good spot to be in. No question about it.
Well, it's going to be fun to watch, I think, here in the weeks and months to come. One thing we talk about on this show, and we talked about it at length, is ticket sales. We talked about it with the Sounders this year and the FIFA Club World Cup. I want to kind of turn a negative into a positive, because I also want to give a shout out to a longtime listener of the show, Isaac, who brought this to my attention. BIV out of Vancouver, Business in Vancouver is the name of the publication. And he was talking about the ticket sales right now for the BC Lions and the Whitecaps.
Okay.
It gives us some perspective on what the Sounders are going through. The Sounders used to be a franchise getting 42,000 a game kind of out of the gate. And now it's dropped into the 30s. But the same issue is happening up in Vancouver. And it's interesting. The Whitecaps last year saw an average attendance soar 56% from 2023. But that has dropped now significantly in this year, back down 18.2%. Their biggest attended game of the year, by the way, was the Sounders at 24,000. But what I think is also interesting about this article is the BC Lions, the CFL team that is playing up there. They're playing in the same stadium, and they had noticed they had a new owner come in and say, "Hey, we're lagging on attendance," and so they've made some changes to try and bring fans back to the stadium, which I think is important to point out on the show, because I think there's some ideas that perhaps folks in Seattle can really kind of run with as well. And let me just read them.
Have at it
here. So the Lions had a game earlier this year, over 52,000 with the Edmonton Elks.
That's a cool name.
Yeah, and what they did is they had a pregame concert with Snoop Dogg.
That is cool.
And so Snoop Dogg had a concert with a CFL game thrown in. So that was one of the things that they did. They've also tried to branch out. They played a game in Victoria last year. Their average attendance, though, in the last year, 23.3% up, with an average attendance of 23,000. So what they've decided to do this year, play all 9 regular season games at BC Place. They started the games at 4 o'clock. So families that live further away can get home earlier, and fans on Vancouver Island have time to catch their post-game ferries. They reduced ticket prices for fans younger than 18. They hosted pregame tailgate parties at Terry Fox Plaza, area that's fenced off, licensed for alcohol and food sales, have bands there pregame to entertain fans. They've had the pregame concert with Snoop Dogg. They've offered transportation ticket offers to fans on Vancouver Island. And then they have merchandise giveaways, not unlike what we see with the Mariners in particular, for a set number of first fans to get into BC Place. All of that has helped them boost attendance. And I think those are some decent ideas for what other clubs here locally, Puget Sound region, may want to consider, because there is a template here from our friends to the north.
Well, listen, I think any team, and certainly that seems like a drastic drop and things of that sort. But I think any team nowadays is competing with people that want the convenience of sitting on their couch and watching the game on an 80-inch TV, if you're so fortunate, or even if the idea of having to do some kind of event. Well, I can still watch the game on my phone. Like, there's more competition than ever.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to be at the game to know. Like, you can follow Twitter or X. I called it Twitter earlier. I will never stop calling it Twitter. Yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like, so I think that's really cool. I think that's really smart. And like you said, there are things that some of our teams do here. But I thought the Snoop Dogg concert was really cool. And I'd be fascinated to see the transition from concert, into football. Like, did they do that on the field, or was that in the park?
I believe it was on the field.
That's impressive. Yeah, that's really cool.
So, I mean, the Whitecaps, the attendance is interesting, because the other thing the article points out, and again, Isaac, thank you for sending it my way, is that if you remember last year, Messi came to town, or Messi was supposed to come to town.
Oh, right.
And then didn't at the last minute. And so what the Whitecaps did is say, hey, we're going to reduce prices on concessions for a night, and we're going to give you a ticket to another game. But the problem was, so many people flew in from all over North America.
Yeah.
They didn't get that extra game, and that angered some of the local fans as well. And so that's cited as a reason, that business decision, how it was handled, may have upset longtime Whitecap season ticket holders. So again, I say all that as a reference to what other teams here locally may learn from just our friends to the north.
Yeah, really, really cool example, case study, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
So Supersonic Minute. We could go on and on and on about it this week. And I gotta hit the. There we go.
Come on, man.
It was a big week with Lenny Wilkins, the 3-time Hall of Famer, the coach, the player, the coach of the dream team, won the Olympic gold, known, I think, by a lot of people around here for what he's done away from the court as well. He was honored with the first statue outside Climate Pledge Arena, and it was a fantastic event. I was humbled. I was honored to be included in that and introduce a lot of the people that came into town, both Governor Bob Ferguson and the former Governor Jay Inslee, also involved, about 20 different elected officials. I think it shows just how important Lenny has been to the community. And he was able to stand there and see the black curtain come off and see his statue. And before that, he spoke to the couple hundred people on a warm, sunny day outside Climate Pledge Arena. Here's just a snippet of what he had to say.
Reminds me when I first came out here. We're a better community when we're supportive of one another, when we help each other, when we take time to recognize one another. And early in my career, one of the things I did a lot was I used to read a lot. I read books all the time. And I read some great books, the history of the USA from 1937 to 1970-something. I read a book I got a buddy of mine to read called Hunter Yo. It was about the culture of the Native American. And I was so fascinated with it. It was unbelievable. I've been blessed. I'll be the first to tell you. I have a great wife, a great family. They're very supportive of everything I do. And that has allowed me to do so much, to be able to go everywhere and speak to everybody. Young people, I tell you, you're important. You mean something. So the young people are tomorrow's doctors, lawyers, politicians. They're our future. And when we're supportive of each other, we make our community better. So I just want to say, hey, thank you. Thank you so much. You don't know what you mean to me, but thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Luxury awaits at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Book now for an unforgettable summer experience. Opening this August, wake up to breathtaking cascade views, enjoy world-class dining, and play your favorite games. Visit snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Luxury awaits at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Book now for an unforgettable summer experience. Opening this August, wake up to breathtaking cascade views, enjoy world-class dining, and play your favorite games. Visit snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
So that is Lenny Wilkins, and one of the people who came to town, Desmond Mason.
The cowboy.
You remember Desmond Mason?
Oh, gosh. Of course.
He was fun to watch back in the day, and he's transitioned. He's now a full-time artist. He is starting a show that he's going to take around the country to places where he played, which is interesting. But he's down in Oklahoma now, came up specifically for the Wilkins weekend. I had a chance to sit down and talk with him about this journey from Seattle to Milwaukee to Oklahoma City. He's got an interesting little side story there on Oklahoma City. Here's just part of our conversation with Desmond Mason. Desmond, thanks for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
Why are you back in Seattle?
Multiple reasons. Just kind of reconnecting with the city. Obviously here for the Lenny statue tribute. Meeting some new potential business partners. Getting ready to do a tour of my work that's going into 4 different cities. A show called Pain, which is my life retrospective. And Seattle is one of the cities that's starting in Dallas, which is kind of close to home for me, and kind of bunching in Stillwater, Oklahoma in my college days. Then obviously being here was very important. We're being drafted by the Ackley family in 2000. Dunk contest, a number change, a trade, and then on to Milwaukee, where I spent the bulk of my career. And then after Milwaukee, it's going to finish in Miami, which is a place that my wife and I want to move to once our middle son is out of high school. So yeah, it's like a circle of life.
Yeah. Have you been back to Seattle since you were traded way back in the day?
A couple of times. I missed it so much, I had to come back for sure pretty early, that first trip back. And then 4 or 5 years ago, I brought my son to a baseball game, which it wasn't Safeco Field anymore. It was a different name.
Yeah.
and we saw we saw the Yankees, and he got to meet Aaron Judge. And I just remember old Pyramid Brewery being right there, and it being Safeco, and it's just changed so much in the area.
Yeah, it's definitely changed. What did you like about Seattle when you came here in the early 2000s? Different city. Amazon had not really built out yet. I mean, it was different in Lower Queen Anne too.
Yeah, it was, for me, it was a culture change. I don't want to say shock, because I felt art took me a lot of different places in school, but it was a culture change. Obviously, the water, the mountains, things I didn't grow up around. First time eating fish that wasn't fried. First oysters, first glass of really nice wine, first microbrew, then just the culture of the people and the love they had for the organization. Coming from college, I knew Oklahoma State had a deep love for the Cowboys, but playing with Gary and Brent and Richard and all those guys, just the love they had for the organization, it was a lot of fun.
And when you first came here, I mean, how would you summarize what the team meant to the city and the connection between the Sonics and Seattle?
It was a deep-rooted love. Again, they accepted me with open arms. I was a shiny new toy. Then I won a dunk contest, and I really couldn't do much wrong after that. Gary, it was his city, his team. And then everybody else just kind of played around that with Vin and remember even when Patrick Ewing came in, David Wingate, that whole crew. It was just so much love and seeing jerseys everywhere. Pre-game, I mean, people faces painted, going into the key. It was going to restaurants and, you know, I would sit down and try to eat and it was just kids and people coming up constantly. They loved the organization a lot.
And the practice facility was kind of right over across the street. That's now the Gates Foundation. I mean, it was a different city at that point in time, was it not?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. I remember the old practice facility. There was, I think it was a Marriott that was right next door. It was Hastings that was there as well. I lived in that hotel for about 2 or 3 months until I found a home. And yeah, the city has changed a lot, which is expected for a place like Seattle. You know, there was potential for a lot of growth. Even though the team moved, the city wanted to grow and eventually get a team back here for sure.
Yeah, as a guy who went to Oklahoma State, what did you think when that team
Oh my God,
moved from Seattle down there?
man, it was a little weird for me in a lot of different ways. I started my career here as a Sonic. My last full season in the NBA was with the Thunder. You know, I played like a half a season with Sacramento, but with the Thunder, so I kind of started and finished on the same team.
Be careful.
When I said the same team, wait, you saw on the same team. You could help me reword that. But I started and finished with a team that was relocated, and then go to Sacramento. My first coach was Paul Westphal. My last coach was Paul Westphal, and so it was a weird energy. Oklahoma City loved it. In Seattle, obviously, did not, and my heart, I was very partial to Seattle in that situation. I was like, that's their team. They need that team, and you know, we can go find something else, but they need that team.
Was it weird to see them win the title this year?
I don't want to say it was weird. It was one, you can't take it away from the talent and how hard the guys worked. They deserve that this year, just based off of the work they put in. And if you know that group of guys, they're very young, extremely humble guys. But it was a little awkward for me personally, just because of how I feel about Seattle, and to see it happen there, and then read all the stuff from the social space. It was, but good for them, good for those players. They deserve it.
And when you're going to college and you're growing up, are you thinking you're going to have that long of an NBA career, or did you have something else in mind?
I didn't think I would be in the NBA at all. I mean, I just, I thought I was a really good player. By the time I got to my late junior year, my senior year, there was some people coming and watching me play in Stillwater, and they were watching other guys on the road, but having a chance to see me as well. I wasn't on the draft board when the draft started. I worked out for more teams than anybody in my class that year. I worked out 16 teams that year, all over the place. I worked out for Seattle twice, and my just kind of continued to rise. And when it got to the draft status, on draft day, I was anywhere from 10 to 21, and I got a phone call that if the Sonics took Turkoglu, Sacramento would take me, and vice versa. And it happened that way. Sacramento took Hedo Turkoglu, and as soon as they took him, my phone rang. And it was Wally Walker, and Rick Sun, and all those guys telling me that I was coming to Seattle.
But even when you're growing up, 4, 5, 6 years old, I mean, are you thinking professional basketball? Are you thinking going down another path?
I was playing football at the time. I'm a Texas kid. I ran track, and then I was an art kid growing up. I mean, I was in Oklahoma State studying to be an art teacher. So I was learning all these mediums, and I always tell people the NBA just got in the way for about 10 years. But yeah, art was always my passion. It was what I love. It's what I do every day. It's tough because your mind has to be there. It's very similar to basketball. You got to be focused, and you have to be creative, and you have to stay fresh and new, and evolve. So basketball is no different.
Yeah, let's talk about the art. I've heard it described as abstract expressionist. Yep. What does that mean for the uneducated?
Abstract expressionism is just, it's everything from textures to movement to color, variation, complementing colors, new and fresh concepts. Some of it's text wording, some of it's just, built up textures. I was a hyper realist growing up, which is very realistic art, where it looks real. and slowly progressed. And really, I started my abstract journey in Seattle, out in Maple Valley, Renton, in my backyard, and throwing paint everywhere and destroying my patio. And yeah, it's just kind of grown over time to become kind of my style to an extent. I've studied so many artists, so I take a little bit from here and there, no different than the player. But yeah, it's what I love to do.
Who's your favorite artist?
Pablo Picasso is number one. Jean-Michel Basquiat is on his heels, for sure.
And so you were doing this while you were in Seattle, while you were developing your game in the NBA. Art was always kind of in the background. Maybe people didn't know it at the time.
Yeah, it was. I was painting in my hotel rooms while guys were going out. I would buy materials, paint, and then ship it or put it under the bus, and Mark St. Ives would help me get it back without it getting damaged. I was just kind of like the weird artsy kid, but I was like that in college too. I was the hooper in hoop clothes, showing up in my art classes with my friends with black nails and mohawks, and vice versa. But yeah, I created a lot in my 10 years of playing. Throughout the course of the season, I was constantly painting.
And you said it was your art career delayed by a decade there. Delayed by hoops, right?
Yeah, a little bit, yeah. And I kind of joke about that, but I couldn't have full focus. I mean, my job was to play basketball and try to get better, so I couldn't give it all the attention I really wanted to at the time.
But you do have a big performance, a big gallery tour coming up. Pain, right?
Yes, yeah.
What is that all about?
It's just about the journey of life, man. I think it's a lot of people learn a lot about me. They've read articles, they've seen things, but there's things that have happened since I was born to date. Things that are, and it's not pain; that's always sorrow. Sometimes that pain was the hard work it took to get to the next level. You know, I'm trying to utilize art to express that, whether it be subliminal, again, text, messaging, the color palettes. But then a lot of it's stories and things that have happened in my life that I'm a very personal guy. That you know, I'm 47 years old now. I would like to share some of that stuff, and hopefully the stories help other people, stuff that you kind of internalize. And I've gotten to the point where I'm prepared to really share a lot of that information through artwork. And I'm happy to have a stop that's coming to Seattle because it's a very important city in my life journey to this point right now.
And Dallas, right? Seattle, Milwaukee,
And Miami.
Miami. Your four cities that you love. So how can people see this show? When is the show?
Right now we're kind of finalizing the dates. It's 2026 and it might lean into 2027. You know, just kind of creating the work, getting all our partners together and me concepting the show, which I'm pretty done with the concept of the show. And then once we do that, we'll start announcing it socially. We'll do a to the public version of it as well. We'll do a Friday VIP, a Saturday invite, and then like a Sunday so everybody get the chance to see it. And I plan on being out every day, just kind of, you know, engaging and telling the stories when people look at it and they go, I don't really understand what that means. And then I can show some of the subliminals and it all starts to make a little bit of sense.
And it also sounds like you're reconnecting with the Sonics family, the extended Sonics family, doing stuff with Iconic Sonics as well.
Absolutely.
What makes you want to be connected to all these guys that you played with so long ago?
You know, they're part of that journey. You know, the city it's a big part of that journey, and I think the city got a chance to see the fun side of it with dunking and running up and down the floor, but they didn't really get a chance to see emotionally how I felt as a 25-year-old having to leave, having to pack a duffel bag and get on Milwaukee Bucks bus and go to Portland and then on to Denver and live in a hotel for 4.5 months in Milwaukee. What that did to like family, how that affects family, how you bounce back. Michael Jordan told me a great, I don't want to say quote, he just gave me a lot of advice because he mentored me a little bit in a 3-year span. And he just said when I was traded, I was hurt about it. My feelings were hurt, and it bothered me a lot. And he told me to just think somebody else wanted you more. That's the way you got to see it. It's like somebody else wanted you more. They gave up Ray Allen, which is a Hall of Fame player, knowing Gary wasn't going to stay there. That's how much they wanted you. So see it that way. Get off the other side of the fence. And eventually I did, and I was able to go into Milwaukee and have the best years of my career.
And obviously coming back to town for Lenny, I'm assuming that during your time in Seattle playing for the Sonics, you had interaction with him because he's been such a foundation for multiple people, multiple reasons here in Seattle. What do you think about Lenny and what he's done, not only personally on the court, but off the court philanthropically?
I think it kind of speaks for itself. I don't think there's any words that I can say that no one else has said before. I think Lenny is an icon. I think he's definitely a staple with not only this community, this state, the game of basketball, from a coaching standpoint and a playing standpoint. I think that his family has carried themselves well in supporting a lot of different causes. So one, the statue was warranted. I think it's deserving. But two, there's not a lot you can say that's going to highlight his excellence on and off the court. So I just say congratulations because it's deserved.
Okay, last question. Are you still trying to dunk?
I can still dunk. I cannot do any of the dunks that I did when I played down, except a little one hand and a little two hand, something nice and light. But I said I'm going to dunk until I'm 50, and then I'm going to go in the corner and cry. Have a glass of wine.
That's the way to end.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you.
This August, luxury awaits at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Book now for an unforgettable summer experience. Visit snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. This August, luxury awaits at Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel. Book now for an unforgettable summer experience. Visit snocasino.com. Seattle's closest is now Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel.
So there you go, Desmond Mason, the former Sonic. He was actually at Queen Anne Beer Hall after the unveiling, serving beers for people.
Well, it's a cool spot to be, right?
Come on. No, Danny Glover was in town. I mean, the list of people that came in just to pay tribute to Lenny Wilkins, the former mayors. I mean, it was really an impressive turnout by Seattle.
Yeah, and it's what we always talk about in this show, right? Seattle fans, it's a basketball city. You can go from Lenny to Desmond, completely different eras, and see it, right? Like, it's really cool to see, and just the beginning. I mean, really, truly, you'd say it's just the beginning when it's like almost 60 years old at this point.
Yeah,
but it is. It really is.
I was talking to somebody who said we can't wait to show this video to Adam Silver in the NBA office. I mean, great. It really felt special. The amount of people, and you think about it, the first statue outside Climate Pledge Arena, not for the hockey team, it's for the basketball history here in Seattle.
Well done.
And people who walk by will know how the Sonics have played in Seattle, and maybe they will return.
Chris, I think that's as good of a final thought as we're going to get on this show.
Should we let David Lee take us out?
I think so.
You've been listening to Inside the Arena with Niko and Chris. Please subscribe on your favorite platform. Until next time.
Inside the Arena was presented by Snoqualmie Casino and Hotel, Seattle's closest sports book.